Okay, so rewind. About 6 months ago, I
Where?
had this weird thing happen to my
I
heart.
know where jacket.
Um, let's see if I can even explain it. Um, about 6 months ago, I had the previous night, I was drinking with a few friends, and I woke up the next morning feeling hungover and, blah and sick. Um, And then I was just sitting there with my kiddos. I was reading them a book, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my heart rate was probably about 85. It went from 85 to like 185 in a split second. Of course, 6 months ago, I wasn't on meds or anything like that, so I completely panicked, lost it. Um, I didn't know what was going on. I had heart palpitations constantly. It was like, it lasted about an hour. So an hour of my heart rate being around 175, 180. Um, and I didn't know what to do. I was going to call an ambulance, but I didn't want to look like a damn fool to my neighbors and stuff like that. So I just, I passed it off as just like a weird panic attack, which I mean, it still could be, but at the time it just made no sense because I was completely resting. I had no anxiety. Okay, now fast forward 6 months. Every day since that, I've kind of been very on edge that it'll happen again. Um, oh wow, I look like a monster today. Um, what was I saying? Okay, so Friday night, it happened again. Um, and it had been 6 months since it had happened. In those 6 months, I lived in fear that it was going to happen again. That was my trigger. I was so scared. I woke up every day saying, what if it happens again today? Thus, I became more entangled into hypochondria, panic disorder, depression, just everything. So, I got on meds, and meds seemed to help. I still had heart palpitations here and there. So, Friday night, nothing had triggered that I know of, anything. I was perfectly calm. I had taken my meds that morning, which is Zoloft 200 milligrams and Boost Bar 10 milligrams. I have Klonopin as needed, but I didn't take none of that. And I walked upstairs and I put my kids to bed, and then I literally all I did was turn. Like I turned like this. And it started. It went from, I now have this Fitbit on my arm, so like I was able to actually see what my heart rate was. Last time I had no idea. I looked at my Fitbit. My Fitbit was like racing to find a heartbeat. It couldn't even find out what heartbeat I was at. Again, it was in a split second. Like it was just not there, and then it was there. So I looked at my Fitbit. I tried to stay calm. After being on meds for a while, I kind of maintained being calm throughout it. I was still like freaking out because when you can feel when your heart races to maybe 120, 130, and that can set you off. But then when it goes up into the 180s, you really don't know what to do. It's like 180 is like the fight or flight. So I didn't know if I should go running, if I should stay here and stay calm, drink some water. I didn't know what to do Friday night, so I made my first ambulance trip, which was less than thrilling. I've never called the ambulance before for something I was like scared of, just because I'm embarrassed. They say, oh, it's just panic disorder, I don't want to waste time when someone could be having like a real heart attack or something like that. So I just trusted my instincts, and I felt I needed to call. And I was my oxygen levels were a little low, and my heart rate in the ambulance. My whole family says ambulance, so I've been trying so hard not to say ambulance. But okay, my blood pressure was like 160 over like 85. And my heart rate throughout the whole ambulance ride was 175, 180. Luckily, the guys in there were pretty cool that I talked to, and what happened next? I got to the ER, and they automatically hooked me up to the EKG and all that. The EKG said that there was no heart attack, which I knew already. I'm not dumb. They said there was no heart attack, and they said that my EKG looks well. It's just my heart rate's really, really fast. So they wanted to set me up with the IV and, kind of get me some fluids. They thought it might be dehydration. I don't know. First, they didn't do a chest x-ray or anything. They just tracked my heart rate, and they saw that over the course of an hour it wasn't going down past 160. And my blood pressure had really dropped a lot, like a lot. So they couldn't give me a beta blocker because it would as well lower my blood pressure even more, allegedly. So what they did was they just waited it out until my heart rate was in the okay zone. So it took about 2 hours for it to get down to like 130. And then they gave me, through my IV, they gave me fluids, and then they gave me Ativan through my fluids, which did nothing. And then they sent me home with Ativans, which still doesn't do nothing. I took 2 milligrams of Ativan. I think that's right, yeah. 2 Ativans about 30 minutes ago, and it doesn't really do anything for me at all, but I have a really high tolerance to pretty much any sort of benzo or anything like that. So my instructions were to make an appointment with my primary care doctor and see where to go from there, but we've already been through this circle of bullshit for the past 2 months now. They're gonna set me up with the heart monitor, and it's gonna be a week long, and then they're gonna see what that shows and if they need to do any further research as to what's making my heart do this randomly. The problem is that they don't have monitors here that work, so I'm waiting for them to get monitors here that work. I'm all the way in Japan. And until then, I can't start this process. So until then, I kind of have to keep living. Yeah. Until then, I kind of have to be prepared for it to happen again, and maybe just not call the ambulance this time, because they didn't really, I mean, of course they were worried. They were like, this is a reason we need to take you in. Your heart rate has not slowed down, and you have not been triggered for any reason. But they, I don't know, there was not much that they could do, especially in a trauma center. They couldn't do much and figure out what was wrong and everything. Thank you. The EKG, it's beautiful, thank you. The EKG didn't show any, what's the word for it? It didn't show any heart attacks, and it didn't show any arrhythmias. That's the word I'm looking for. It didn't show any arrhythmias. So, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. But it just bothers me, like, why it does this. Especially when I can understand when I'm panicking. I can feel when I'm panicking, and my heart rate goes up to maybe 120, 130. But this comes out of completely nowhere. It just comes, thank you, it's beautiful. It comes from just nothing. Literally, I could be sitting here right now talking on this phone, and it would happen again. So I guess I just have to play the waiting game some more, even though I have been, and it's starting to get frustrating because we leave here in 3 months. So this all has to be done before we leave, because I have to pass a medical board before I leave here. So this has to be done, and it has to be done quick, and I'm tired, I'm impatient, I just want to know what's wrong with me. I'm sure they're, thank you, it's beautiful. I'm sure they're gonna put me on beta blockers of some sort. I just don't know. It's like, it's constant fear, and it's so scary. It's such a scary feeling. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, where you're sitting just completely calm with a resting heart rate, and all of a sudden it jumps into the 170s or 180s, like, that is terrifying. And it wasn't just a fast heartbeat, it was heart palpitations on top of that. So it felt like my heart was doing like 3 beats at the same time, and it felt like it was just gonna explode. It's ridiculous. So if anyone can relate, you know, I'm sorry, because it does really suck, and I'm just ready to find out some answers. Thank you all for listening to me constantly blabbing. Have a good day.